Tehillah, are you ready? Are you feeling hype to get started?
Can you see? Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, we can.
No interruption or anything, eh?
Nothing. We
Okay.
can see all your scrumptious food there on the. What are we looking at? Oh, that looks
We
really
have
nice.
wings,
Uh-huh.
potatoes with feta,
Uh-huh.
sandwiches, and mini cupcakes. That was a baby shower.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Nice. Oh, it looks so good. And it's almost lunchtime, I think. Wow.
Great time to have the chat, right?
Yeah.
All right. Ready?
Yes, I think we're just going to go ahead and get started and have people join us as we go along. So for everybody that's joining us via Facebook, yay, you get to be a part of right the beginning of this conversation. So
Welcome.
we're happy. Today we have Tehillah Mumba, who's a biologist, a chef, a radio and TV host. So she dabbles in quite a bit of things. And she's going to be talking to us today about the Catering Essentials. And this is part of our student series. And the focus within this particular series is monetizing your hobby. So you love to cook, you cook at family events, you cook for your friends, you cook for yourself, and you enjoy it. And you've been thinking about, how do I turn this into a business? What are the essentials I need to make money off of my skill and out of my talent? And so today, Tehillah is going to be sharing with us her journey. So it's a very personal account of how she started and how she's built her business so far. We, as Bongo Hive, have worked with Tehillah over the years, and she caters a lot of our events. And so we're so glad to have her here dropping gems for us and letting us know how to get started within the catering business. And just to give you guys a bit of background on who exactly Tehillah Mumba is a vibrant and creative young lady, as you'll see, and as you can see from the food that's displayed on her screen. And she runs her own business, she hosts radio shows, and is a self-taught chef. So those of you that are thinking, I taught myself, I've been cooking for 3 years, I actually turn this into a business with no degree or diploma in culinary arts. Is this something I can do? The answer is yes, and Tehillah is going to be showing us how to get that done. So what started out as a hobby in the culinary arts quickly grew into a fully fledged mobile food business called Taste Treats, which specializes in savory and confectionery eats. And so she's going to be sharing with us some tips and some pitfalls to avoid while building your business. So we're privileged to have you with us here, Tehillah, to take us through this session. And just a heads up for everybody, we'll have Tehillah speaking for 25 minutes, sharing with us her essentials. And then we'll go into an interactive session of question and answer. So if you guys have some questions for her, I will share those with her and she'll respond to you. And like I said, when we started, if you're joining us via Facebook Live, you can still share your questions and those will be shared by our team, shared here with Tehillah to give you some feedback. So Tehillah, over to you.
Thanks, Akai. How's everybody doing online? I hope you can hear me. So yeah, so just a little introduction, just to add on to what Sakai said. I am Tehillah Mumba. I'm a business owner, a chef, a radio TV host, and I have an educational background in biology and health studies, which actually came in handy when you pair it with food as well, because hygiene and all of that stuff. So I do use my educational background and bring in my food and I infuse that together. So that's a little bit about myself. All right, so how I got started. My journey is very interesting. I always, cooking has always been a hobby of mine, but I always cooked whenever I was depressed or, you know, when life just wasn't working out for me. So I'd end up like reading recipes, trying new things in the kitchen. And one day when I realized that every time I got my paycheck, I went to the grocery store to buy recipes, I figured that I might actually be onto something. So it was 2015 when I started to consider making my hobby into a business. I had mastered one recipe. So you don't have to be a pro at cooking or baking. I had mastered one recipe and there were scones. And I decided to start selling them because my family members, my friends would always ask me for the scones. So I figured, let me make a business out of it. So I would sell these scones to a small church group on Sundays only, just for extra cash, just to see if my product would actually sell. So every Sunday, people would buy all my scones. I would sell out, and I thought, okay, this is going to work. So that's how I got started. And I started with what I had. I didn't get like any money for capital, anything like that. So if you're out there and you're like, I need money to start my catering business, I would say start where you're at. Start small and allow yourself to grow. So I started with what I had, which was flour, sugar, butter, the basic ingredients. I started with that, and I already had bowls in the house, spatulas, baking trays, an oven, all of that stuff. So it was easy for me to start. And just a minute, it was easy for me to start. I don't know if you're seeing my slide, but those are my very first cupcakes.
We can see them, Tehillah, and they look yummy.
They look yummy, but when I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, someone bought those. And when I actually think back, I'm like, I'm horrified that I charged someone those to buy those cupcakes. So funny story, I was terrified of cupcakes. I just could not figure out how they were able to put the cupcake batter into the little cup. The first time I actually did it, I baked the cupcake separate from the cup, and then I tried to put the cupcake in the cup, and that's what you got. But I love to keep this picture because it reminds me how far I've come, and that if you keep working on a skill, that you get better and better. So I started to watch a lot of YouTube videos, and utilize Pinterest and Instagram. And everything is on YouTube now. You can really just learn and teach yourself. I also followed a few baking blogs, and my science background just helped me understand what baking is, because it really is a science. And you can't just throw things together and expect a cake to come out. You have to pay attention, change the measurements, and all of that stuff. So at the beginning, it was trial and error. I had really bad cakes sometimes. Me and my friend used to call them pitumbuas sometimes, because you're hoping for a cake and you just get this mass. So it's okay to make mistakes as long as you're willing to keep going. Like, don't get discouraged. So that's how I developed my skill set. And then my marketing at the beginning was really just word of mouth. So once people tasted my scones, they loved them, and they told a friend, they told a colleague at work, and that's how my client base started to grow. And after my scones, I got brave enough and I decided to add in cupcakes and cakes. And my first cake wasn't that great, but someone bought it. And like I'm always saying, I'm horrified sometimes when I see the pictures. I'm like, oh my gosh, I sold someone that cake. All right, so how do you get started? Like I said before, find out if there's a demand for whatever you're trying to sell. If it's catering and food, people are always eating, there are always events, so you are going to make some money. And then make sure you're passionate about what you're doing, because it's not going to be smooth sailing all the time. And yeah, you're going to have some hard days, but if you love what you do, you'll keep pushing. And that's me. I would have like a bad cake. The next day I wake up, I'm like, what did I do wrong? I want to fix it. And when that happens, you start to slowly see that you're getting really good and you're getting better and you're critiquing yourself. And yeah, it just gets really better as you keep trying. So don't give up, be passionate, and keep going. I also said start with what you already have. If you have it in the house, use it. I started with scones. That was the only product I was selling, was just scones. And I became consistent. I perfected the recipe and people loved them. And the funny thing is, I would read other people's stories on how certain big brands got to where they are. Some of them just started with one thing, like chocolate chips. And look at where we are now. Like, everyone eats chocolate chips. So even that one thing can work for you. So with that being said, decide on what goods you want, you will sell. What product will you be selling? One of the issues I faced at the beginning is I wanted to grow too fast. So I started to add different things. So I want to do cakes, I want to do cookies, I want to do meals, I want to do all of this. And then I realized that I couldn't, because I was working alone, I couldn't keep up with all the different types of goods. So I feel like you should start small and maybe just have a few products. And then as you gain control with a few products, you can add on other things, and then you can grow your team from there. And another thing, create an inventory for of all that you need for your products. So if you can, I'll use me as an example. I started with scones, and because I knew I was selling scones, it was easy for me to have for my inventory, because I knew I just needed butter, I needed flour, I needed sugar, I needed salt. The problem comes when you have all these products and you're not ready. I don't know if that makes sense. And then you find that your inventory, oh, I need butter, I need chicken, I need all of this. So I would say if you're starting out, start with a few things so you can kind of get a hold of how you're going to work your inventory. And then after a while, when you get a hang of it, you can add in other products. So the other one is equipment. Like I said before, I had these things in my house, but they're not very expensive. There are lots of shops here where you can buy a bowl, spatula, baking trays. Again, you have to figure out what you're selling, and then you'll be able to buy the equipment that you need. So if it's cakes, you've got to have an oven, you've got to have bowls, you've got to have spatulas, you've got to have a mixer, a handheld. If you have the money, you can buy a standalone. And a standalone, for people who don't know, is the mixer that you can put on a kitchen counter and let it do its magic while you do other things. And I started with a hand mixer. It was okay, but I found that I couldn't do a lot of things in the kitchen because I'd be stuck trying to mix the butter. So as your business grows, you can add more stuff to your inventory. So yeah. And then another thing, create a logo for your business and business cards. I use a source called Canva, and it's really, I really love it. And it just helps, like, people can connect you to your logo. For the longest, I was called the cake lady. So when people see my logo, they're like, oh, okay, Tehillah Taste Treats, and I've had her food before. Another thing you should do is create a social media page. So a Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter. Twitter really works. Yeah, so I would say concentrate on those three. I personally like Instagram because of the pictures. You know, people can see your cakes. And Facebook is really great for just getting interactive with your customers as well. The next one is your menu. So if you know what your product is, you know how to prepare your menu, like you know what you're selling. So for instance, if I'm selling scones and I'm selling cakes, and out of these cakes, I'm selling chocolate cake, vanilla cake, red velvet, I need to know that. One of the things I experienced at the beginning was I would have a menu and then a client would come and say, oh, do you do Nshima, right? And because I didn't want to lose them as a client, I'll be like, yeah, I do Nshima. But in reality, I'm like, no, that's not on my menu. So I would say from the beginning, like, know what your menu is and then price things correctly. Don't be pressured if a client comes and they want something that you don't offer. It's okay to say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't offer that. And just allow yourself to grow organically. If you can grow fast, I guess, go ahead. But for me, what I learned was you should have a set menu. You should have a menu already, and then people pick from that menu. I don't know if that makes sense. And then the last part on this topic is to get registered with the authorities. ZRA, PACRA, get a bank account, get your accounts in order. When I started at the beginning, I didn't have ZRA and PACRA because I was really small. But when my clients got bigger, I decided to sign up with ZRA and PACRA, just so that you're compliant and that you have bigger and better clients. Okay, so this next section is costing your goods. So one of the challenges that I found at the beginning was I didn't know how to cost my ingredients. I would call someone, a fellow caterer, and ask them, oh, how much are you charging for this cocktail or this meal? And she would tell me her price, and then I would price the same, right? And when I would look back at my books, I realized that what was working for her wasn't working for me. So I don't know what ingredients she's using. They might be different from my ingredients. My meter, my electricity, my consumption might be different from her consumption. So it's important to break down your costs. And in the food business, it's a bit tricky because you have to break down every single thing. So I'll give you an example. If I'm doing wings, right? If I buy a pack of 12 wings for 50 kwacha, and my end product is barbecue wings, right? In a box, packaged, which I feel like a lot of people forget to add on the cost of packaging as well. So it's say 50 kwacha for 12 wings, and someone has bought 12 wings. It's just hypothetical. And then your barbecue sauce. So your barbecue sauce is maybe 15 kwacha. Your cooking oil, your spices, your packaging, all of that. You need to think about all of that and your labor. One of the things I've seen about hobbies, see, if you love cooking, it's not a chore, really. Like if someone says, you're willing to do it for free, rather. So what I found is that I was undercharging because I already loved what I did, you know? So it's so important to be honest with yourself, to pay yourself, to think of your operation costs, to think of how much it really costs to make your end product, whatever products that you have. I do have a food cost calculation that Sakai will be sharing in a little bit. And hopefully that will help you calculate the cost of your ingredients. It is tedious at the beginning, but I suggest that if you are starting out, that you do it as you're going. and not at the end, like me. And that's why I think I can help, because I've made those mistakes, and then you find yourself for a whole week, all you're doing is data entry and trying to fix your ingredient list and all of that stuff. So like I said, make sure you factor in your labor and operation costs and packaging. Like I said before, I find that when we're passionate about something, we can do it for free. This might make you undercharge for your service. All right, so there is a food cost calculation that I believe Sakai will be sending. All right, so it is, if you guys have paper and pen, this could work. It's CRSUGAR kitchen.com.
Hey, Tehillah, just shared that.
Okay,
There
did
also
you
seems
share?
to be a button in the center of your presentation. I'm not sure if you can see that. Can you see it?
Hold on. Yes, I can see it now.
Could you close it? The little button that says opening taste treats presentation.
I can't see it.
Okay, it must be behind your presentation.
Ah, I see. Okay, just hold on. Can you still see it?
Uh-huh.
Let me just, this one? Can you still see it?
Maybe open the presentation again.
Can you still see it?
Okay, we can still see it. Yeah, we can still see it. So it's a little button, sort of a rectangular button with the little X sign in the lower right corner of that button, of the rectangular button.
What else does it have?
It has a tiny little image of your presentation, and then it says opening taste treats presentation. So I assume it's while you were opening this presentation, that didn't close.
Okay. This one? Can you see my cursor on it?
Yes, yes, I can see that. But it's probably on your, say, on your desktop.
Oh, okay. Could you just hold on a minute?
Okay.
Ah, okay. I see it. Great. Gone?
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you.
Okay. So Sakai, are you gonna share the link, or I could read it out?
Done. I shared it.
Okay. Okay, great. So
guys, that's the food cost calculator that I.
Yeah, so it's really easy. It took me a while to find this actually. At the beginning, I did it manually. And if you like Excel, if you're good at Excel, you could also make your own spreadsheet. But real quick, so what it is, I'll give you an example because I think it's best when an example is given. If I were to buy 2.5 kg of flour, right? And my recipe calls for 500 grams of flour, I would first cost my 2.5 kg of flour, say it costs 45 kwacha, right? And then I would find out what my cost, what the 500 grams of flour costs. So that's what that app does. It allows you to just plug in your flour, how much your initial flour costs, so the one you buy, how much did it cost, how much do you need for the recipe, say if it's 500 grams, it will actually work out the costing for you. The only tricky part is that it's in dollars. So what I do is kind of just ignore the dollar sign because it's really just the concept that you want to get. But it's a brilliant little calculator. It will save you time. It also shows you your margins. It'll show you what you should charge if you want to make such and such amount of profit. So it's really helpful. And it's pretty sad that I only figured it out maybe like 3 years ago. So I used to do everything manually. So All right, so very important, do cost your food properly. And then keeping track of your inventory. So I would say if you're starting out, because you don't know how much you're using. Say if you're starting out this week, you don't know how much you'll need next week or the week after. So I would say start on a week by week basis. Just say, okay, this week I'm going to buy 10 kg of flour. So at the beginning, you're actually trying to see how much you're using, and then that will help you for the next week and the other week. So if you're just starting out, so you're probably not going to be selling as much because you're still trying to market yourself. So I would start, like for me, I'll use myself as an example. I would buy like a 10 kg bag of flour, and I'll buy my butter, my milk, things that can be refrigerated. If I needed perishables, I'll probably buy them if someone ordered. So I would say start on a week by week basis. And we'll get into the second question, the second point, which is, should I buy in bulk or not? You can, I would say, buy your dry things in bulk. And it's very important to know how much your product moves, because as you know, sometimes our flour can get little insects in them. And there's a way around that, is you can refrigerate your flour, but you just have to wait a little longer so your flour is room temperature for you to bake or to cook or whatever you're using it for. But I would say it is best to buy bulk. But if you're starting out, I would say buy for the week and see how your product moves, and that will help you gauge after and the week after. And as your business grows, you're going to get to a place where you're like, okay, I know I need so many chicken wings for this month, or I know I need so many onions or potatoes for this month. So it's kind of up and down, unless you've got like a consistent client base, then you're able to have your inventory down packed. So tracking your inventory and expenses. I use an app called Wave, and I know Bongo Hive talks about Wave a lot. They actually told me about it, so it's really helped me, because I know, like, whenever someone buys something from me, I'm able to generate an invoice or an estimation, and then I can keep track of what I'm selling and how much I'm making. So I encourage that you have an accounting system from the beginning, because yeah. All right. And then growing your client base. Like I said before, I started selling to a group of about 60 people. It was at a church, and I baked on a Saturday, and I was able to sell things to people on Sunday. And if people liked the food, they referred you to someone else. So at the beginning, it was a lot of word of mouth. And then I participated at a few night markets. I'm not sure if we still, especially with this COVID, we can't do the night markets, but it was a good way to market my products, because there were people that, just different people from all walks of life coming through and tasting food, and they don't have to commit to buying a whole cake. They can have a slice of cake, or they can try out your wings, or they can try out your apple pie. So night markets were really great. Even just regular markets or food markets or bake sales at schools sometimes, or different events, that really helped. Also, if you've got a popular friend or someone who knows a lot of people, you could give them a few freebies and they can market your product for you. Another one that I recently started doing was just door to door, going to different companies, telling them that you cater, telling a family member that you cater. They'll let their friends or their colleagues at work know that you cater. So it's really, I find that here in Lusaka, a lot of my clients have come from word of mouth, from referrals. So that's that. And then Facebook, I forgot to say this, Facebook and Instagram, you can sponsor your page. And if people see your pictures, I actually had a few clients last week buy from me because they saw my Instagram page. So yeah, sponsor your page, advertise your page, tell your friends to share your page, just so that people can see what you're doing. All right, so your product. It's very important that you maintain the quality of your product. If people know you for, and I'll keep using myself as an example, I'm not a professional, but I have earned my stripes a little bit. So I would say be consistent with your recipes. So don't switch up your recipes. What I did from the beginning, if I found a recipe that worked, I tweaked it and I put it into a database. So I have recipes for different cakes, for chicken, for my meals, and I stick to those recipes. I worked with a few people in the past who used to use their memory. Like, I know how to bake this, I don't have to look at a recipe book. But I always encourage people, especially if you're trying to get consistency with your product, always look at your recipe so that you're giving people the same product all the time, because they're coming back because they enjoyed whatever it is that you gave them. So that's a big one for me. And consistency. Be consistent. Don't change. If someone bought a scone from you and it was really nice and flaky, then the next time they buy it from you, it's really dense and it doesn't taste good, So people want consistency. So I'd say be consistent with your product. Always improve your product and use the best ingredients. One thing I've noticed with food is when you cut corners, it actually shows. It shows, you can taste it, that someone did not use the best ingredients or really good ingredients. And the next part is customer service, how to respond to clients. Always get feedback. When I started my culinary journey, I hated feedback. I hated it. Especially if I knew I did a bad job at something, I would just kind of shove the food or the cake to my client and not call or ask how they enjoyed the meal or the cake. But I met a man who always, whenever he bought a cake from me, he would always critique it. He would always say, Tehillah, that cake was dry. Maybe you need to change this. Maybe you need to change that. And because of him, I developed a really good chocolate cake. So get customer feedback. Don't be intimidated if your customer doesn't like something that you're offering. Listen to what they have to say and then see what you can change. Because really you just want to improve your products and your food. Yeah, and it's not easy getting critiqued, but it's very important to listen to what your clients need. Respond to clients in a timely manner, especially on your Facebook, your WhatsApp, your Instagram. People want to know that they can actually reach you. This one actually irks me. Do not send your clients promos in the middle of the night. It's if it's not professional. So I've been getting a few promos and I'm like, it's midnight. Yeah. So you should have hours. I would say have hours, like working hours for yourself. Put working hours, maybe from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. This is when I send out mass promos for my clients. It's just professional. And I think they take you seriously if you kind of watch the hours that you send things as well. remain professional even when a customer is wrong. So don't yell at your customer, listen to what they have to say. And if you can change or give them a better service, do that. I think it's important to always win the client over. I've had I haven't really had bad clients. I had one who really stressed me out. But if you can talk to your clients, let them know what you're offering, what your boundaries are, I think it's better. So just don't yell at clients, listen to what they have to say, and tell them how your business runs as well. Another big one for me is owning up to your mistakes. And if you've made a mistake, if you came late to an event, if you didn't deliver on time, it's important to call your clients to let them know this is what happened. What can I do for you? Throw in a freebie, maybe a discounted offer the next time that they order, or maybe even in the order that they're ordering, just give them a discount or something. So yeah, it's you acknowledging that, yes, I made a mistake, but I still value you as a client. All right. So some key takeaways from this is I would encourage you to start where you are. Like, just start with what you have. You're still, especially if you don't know how to cook very well, I would say just zero in on a certain product that you're really good at and start there. I would encourage you to grow organically. Organize your inventory and books at the beginning of your business. It's really tedious. Like, if you didn't start at the beginning, to now catch up and try and put everything in order, like your inventory, your food costing. So I would say, as you're growing your menu, organize your inventory, cost your food. And it's actually an ongoing thing. So you're never going to stop costing. As long as you keep adding food, you'll still be needing to cost every recipe. Make sure that you're costing your goods accurately. Sakai sent the link, so that will help you. And always get customer feedback. It'll improve your business. Do not forget to pay yourself. I always say, when you're passionate about something, you do it for free. But after a while, you start to see that your money is not adding up. So I would say, be honest with yourself. Include your labor costs, include your operation, your gas, your delivery, your talk time, your internet, if that's what you're using. Just make sure that you're treating, if you're transitioning from a hobby to a business, make sure that you're treating it like a business. Because if you still treat it like a hobby, it's not really going to grow. And learn from other people in your field. Maybe I was lucky enough to find 2 people who don't mind sharing information with me, and they're far ahead of me. So I always say there's really no competition. You're just learning. Everybody does things differently, but they really helped me with menu pricing, how to get different clients, what I needed to do to get into certain doors. So yeah, so I would say learn from people in your field. And then have fun and don't stop learning. I think I'm on Pinterest and Instagram like for hours, just trying to figure out what's trending, what's new, because you don't want to get stuck doing things the old way when people are actually moving. So I would say have fun, don't stop learning, and yeah. And I'll just give you guys a few resources. So I love sugarkitchen.com. It's a blog, but mostly she does a lot of food costing, inventory, and she just shares how she does things in her kitchen, and then you can learn. And she's very generous, because a lot of people charge you to get a food costing calculator. So I think that was pretty neat. Pinterest is amazing for pretty much anything. Like I found a lot of catering ideas. They'll teach you how to portion food and all of that stuff. So I would say get on Pinterest. I follow this YouTube called Small Food Business, and that's been a great resource for me. And then Posey HH is a blog, Instagram blog. So she does a lot of cakes, different recipes, food, and all of that stuff. So I feel like as a caterer, you should always be ahead, like always know what's going on and what people like and new things. Don't get stuck catering the old stuff. Do something fresh, do something new. And the other one is Posh Little Cakes. They just have really pretty things. And I feel like presentation is everything, especially with catering and baking. So those are the resources I thought I should share with you guys. And then if you want to contact me, I have a number up there, but I do have a Facebook page, and the page is called Taste Treats. And on Instagram, it's Taste Treats Zambia. And then I do have an email if anybody wants to get in touch with me, and it's tastestreetszambia@gmail.com. So, yeah.
Thanks, Tehillah. If you could just keep your contacts up for us so everybody can jot them down. Guys, like I've posted in the chat section, if you have any questions for Tehillah, please post them now. So we're going to get into the Q&A section. I know a lot of you were saying that you're planning to start catering, or that you were catering before and you stopped. And you want to get back into it. So do you have any pressing questions for Tehillah? So please post those either in the chat or in the Q&A section like I had shared, so we can get into answering those burning questions you have about catering. So whether it's how do I price, talking about, okay, post-COVID, how do I go into the market now? How can I stay safe and make sure that I'm still delivering? Tehillah, how are you doing it? I think I start by asking the first question. Now we have COVID going on. How has that affected your business, and how are you still able to deliver? You said that people found you because you have amazing images on social media and made requests for your food. So how's that working right now? Did you have to make any changes?
Well, yeah, with COVID, it's been difficult. I think as with a lot of caterers, because with catering, you really want the big groups, and people are no longer meeting in big groups. So because I do confectionery as well, so my cakes, I still get people buying cakes. So people are still having birthdays. And then I've also created a package that's a smaller catering for 20 people, for 15 people. So you're just encouraging people that even though there's COVID, if you need to have a birthday, I can still cater your birthday. Or an intimate dinner, I can do an intimate dinner for 2 people, 3 people. Another idea is just meals, small meals for people who can't cook. Because especially with COVID, people are now working from home, and then maybe they don't have time. Maybe they don't have time to go to the restaurant. So you could offer meals as well. So for me, that's something I've done, and it's been working well. It's obviously slower, but at least, at least I still have business coming in.
Thank you. And guys, if you're joining us via Facebook Live, you can post your questions as well. Maretta, please share those questions with us if they're coming in from Facebook Live. Elastus, Kelvin, Sakai, Susanna, Tuzini, share your questions with us for Tehillah, and she'll be sure to answer those for you before we move to wrap up our webinar today. So keep those questions coming. So type them either in the chat or in the Q&A section. Tehillah, perhaps you could go back to your key takeaways.
Okay.
To your key takeaways. a slide?
Yes, let me do that. Yes, so can you see those?
Yes.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love how you mentioned the fact that's your second last point, your second last key takeaway is learning from other people in your field. And something we're always talking about at Bongo Hype is this idea of collaboration. And the fact that you're emphasizing that, look, you guys, it's yes, there's competition, but you're also taking the opportunity to learn from those that have gone ahead of you, or looking at how other people maybe portray themselves on social media, how they're telling the story of their
Yeah.
business. So I really love that you put that in there.
Yeah, because a lot of the time we want to be competitive, right? And you're like, you know, but it's important to ask the question, how come you have 5,000 followers? What are you doing that I'm not doing, you know? And I always say when people ask me for help, I'm like, we're always going to do things differently. Of course, there are certain things that you must keep to yourself, like recipes and stuff like that. But then there are just general things that you can share, especially because some people are not in the same place that you are at. So if someone has like 5,000 followers, I have 200, I still have ways to go. So, you know, it's not a problem to share if you take a few things that you've learned.
Yeah. So we have a question here from Elastus, and the question is, at what point do you know that you are ready to diversify or grow from, say, in your case, scones to cakes to a whole catering service? So at what point do you make that switch? Do you know that you're ready to make that switch?
I think when you have, for me, it's organization. Like I switched after I figured out my scone recipe. I had clients for the scones. I had my inventory done. It was in order. I figured, okay, I can add in cakes now. You know what I mean? And as you keep getting organized and you have clients for your cakes, you can move on to cupcakes. Also, sometimes clients dictate what you need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you're like, you start seeing, oh, people like cupcakes. People need school lunches for their kids. So you kind of see, okay, I need to get into that market. What can when can I get into that market? Do I need extra help? What will I need to buy? All those are factors, you know. So if for instance, I'll give you an example. I was doing cocktails for the longest. I didn't do hot meals because I didn't have the extra hands. So when someone would ask, oh, can you cater for 500 people? I'd have to decline and be like, no, I can't because I do not have the capacity. So it'd be great to do it, but I didn't want to like under deliver and just, you know, I'm cooking from home. I have one stove. So I think that also dictates when and how you grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tehillah. We have a comment here from Susanna, and she says, hi, Tehillah. My sister lost connectivity and she's starting up. She asked me to ask you to be one of the people she knows who are doing it in the industry. Keep her name in mind, Kiri.
Oh, okay.
So, Susanna, you're asking for Tehillah to be ready to perhaps mentor Kiri.
Definitely.
Yeah, so you shared, Tehillah shared her contact, so I'm sure, Tehillah, you're ready for people to slide into your DMs.
Yes, please.
Ask you questions.
I'm ready to help. Anything that I can share that will make your journey smoother. Yeah.
Thank you. If we have no other questions, I don't see any other questions here. Do you have any last words, Tehillah, as we wrap up?
No, well, I would say during this COVID time, don't get discouraged. I always say there's always something like you can do. Some client out there, maybe if you package it differently, you'll have a different set of clients, you know. So I think every problem has like a silver lining in it. So I would say just don't give up, and this could be also a great time to work on your skill set. You know, just if there's something that you've always wanted to do, practice, get on YouTube, and yeah, practice. That's what I would say.
So it's practice, practice, practice.
Use the
And keep your
downtime.
eyes open. Yes, keep your eyes open for the opportunities that exist even during this time, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Thanks, Tehillah. And thank
you
you, all
so
of you,
much.
for joining us here on Zoom, and those of you that
Thank
are
you for
joining
us.
yes, via Facebook Live. This has been part of our Monetizing Your Hobby series. So please stay glued to all of Bongo Hive's social media. Please follow us and join us and share your comments with us. Let us know what you're thinking about these sessions. Let us know if there's any other sessions that you want us to give you, if you've had a hobby and you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I monetize this? And so within this series, tomorrow we are talking about event design. So perhaps you're good at doing decor, or you're interested in going into that industry. That's the session we have on tomorrow. And as part of the series, we'll then talk a lot about fashion and talk about the arts. We might touch on, you want to be a social media influencer. How do you go about doing that, and what are brands looking for, especially during this time when people are at home and taking a lot of time on their phones and on social media? What are the opportunities for you there? So please join us for the rest of our series. Thank you for joining us here today. Thank you, Tehillah, for taking the time out to share some of your lessons and what you've learned, and sharing some key takeaways for us to think about as we venture into our catering businesses. So thank you everyone for joining us, and have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you so much.